that, sorry, so we as a community, as we share this information, it's not where we're saying to stop taking medication or go against what your doctor is saying. We are not practitioners, we're not doctors, but we are health enthusiasts and we are very passionate about health. I have a few friends who have experienced thyroid. One of my, it seems that a few people are having some issues with with logging in. So I'm going to ask Cornell, can you just reach out to a couple of the people that we have invited just to reshare the information, please? Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I believe Deborah is trying to get in. Yeah, so one of the things that I wanted to share with you is that in every community, individuals may have remedies of what can work for some things, but there's also a negative interaction with some natural products versus medication. So as I share with you, of course, do your due diligence, and the information we've gathered are from credible sources. One of the actual site we go to is a public medical library, where it will actually allow you to be able to do different researches on different conditions as well as what has been working in the community for medicine. And so just to give a little bit about my background, actually my background is in IT as a project manager and in management. And then of course my husband's a business analyst, but we became enthusiasts. And so far, I started to be distracted. I'm just getting messages about trying to log in. If you could just kind of, for those of you who invited others, just respond to them and just let them know that once you enter your name and the passcode at the end, once you enter the link, it may ask you if you're for the first time to just enter your email address to register. So I'm not sure why people aren't able to join at this time, but let's just focus on what we're doing right now. So I mentioned before that we had a few friends. I had one friend who has thyroid, and she had the one which was not where she actually lost weight rapidly. And she got the bulging eyes, and all these things happened to her in a very short time. So for me, it's just building awareness. For many of us, we know of and heard of all these things. Oh, yay. People are entering now. Great. Awesome. Thank you. So for many people have gone through challenges, and sometimes you feel you're isolated, that you're not able to get to either the right group of people to ask the right questions, or you have limited amount of information. So what I'm here to do is just to add value and to be able to share what we have been able to sort of discover along our research. And of course, we can easily go to Google and do our research, but Google gives you sometimes the worst case scenario and not always factual information. So we go to credible sites that actual naturopathic doctors, researchers, nutritionists, and others in their profession go to for reference. So this is why I'm sharing this information with you. So I share this information. Again, we will try to answer all of your questions as best as we can at the end of our discussion. So I share this with you. And again, for those of you who are getting messages that they're not able to get in, just let them know they can actually go in, go to the invite, click on the link, enter the passcode with their name, and then it'll ask them for their email address if they haven't registered for at all. If they're registered before, it'll let them in, but it may ask them for an extra step. So if I share this with you, please feel free to take snapshots of the screen, to go forward and take notes as best as you can. And then from there, maybe have questions that come towards the end. So here we go. So for us, we know this, some of us may know some types of thyroids. So we hear the term thyroid, but there's different types. So I mentioned before hypothyroidism, goiter, even thyroid tumors. Some are cancerous, some are not. Thyroid cancer and hyperthyroidism. Now, there's other types of illnesses that are associated with thyroids, but I'm just focusing on these for now. And so for us, it's just creating a path to a healthier lifestyle. So learning of different conditions and how we can improve your health, or our health in particular. Now, I'm not going to go through every single line because it's a lot of information, but again, feel free to take screen captures or write notes, and then we can try to address those again at the end. So thyroid nodules can develop on the neck and really they can be cancerous. And of course, the worst case scenario, it is cancerous. So there's type of symptoms. And now some of these symptoms may be contributed to other factors, but these are some of the, identified conditions that people may experience from time to time. And no one person may experience all, but at least you can be aware. So fatigue is one, weight loss, weight gain, which is very common in those who have thyroid conditions or disorder, emotional instability or mood swings, a slow or fast heartbeat, swelling or pain in the neck. Sometimes you may have constipation or diarrhea as the extreme. And so some of these are easy signs, but you may not have connected to that is a thyroid issue. And so there's something called hypothyroidism. And so it produces too little hormones. And then you have individuals, depending on their genetic makeup, their DNA and the overall body, it may hit you at the later stage, like over 50, and some people may be younger. And so I do have, many years ago when I first came to Canada for my aunt's wedding, I witnessed a 9-year-old girl who had the extreme, and she lost so much weight in such a short time. And I think she was 9 or 10 years old at the time. So it can hit you at different stages depending on you, your individual person. And so some of the sources you may see at the bottom, you can feel free to just go into there and to do your own additional homework. And then there's hyperthyroidism. So hyperthyroidism is a condition in which the thyroid gland makes too much versus too little. And it's often called overactive thyroid. And so you're looking at, the link between your thyroids connected to things like Graves' disease or even other conditions that are related to your overactive or underactive thyroid. Now, there's also a link between constipation. Now, I know that there's a term, there's a Dr. Bob Bukowski, he likes to state, if you can eat right, think right, poop right, sleep right, that means your body is becoming, more in tune with your health journey. But then when you have times when you have constipation, it could be an indicator that it could be a thyroid issue. Now, some of the symptoms here could be slow digestion, lumpy or hard stools, things like that. And you feel like you need to strain yourself to have a bowel movement, or also you may have pain. So I also highlighted some of the things to your right as some of the conditions or symptoms that you might have. One of them is feeling shaky. Now, shaky it could mean different things. It could mean that you may be experiencing anxiety or nervousness. That could be part of having an anxiety attack. But also, it can be related to thyroid conditions. One of the things too as well is that you may have difficulty sleeping. Now, depending on your age and stage in your life, that could also be contributed to things like menopause or andropause, I like to call it, for men. And so these are things that you have to try to write down in a journal, so to speak, and keep track of how you're feeling. Another one could be hair loss. And keep in mind too as well that hair loss doesn't mean that as you age, you lose hair, or if you're on medication, you lose hair. Could mean that you could have a thyroid disorder. And of course, I would suggest if you're experiencing any of these to consult your doctor, your physician, or your family doctor, so to speak, to sort of identify and speak with them as to what you're having in the way of some of these conditions. And then they may suggest that you have a thyroid test done, either blood work or through an X-ray or ultrasound, depending on what they recommend. Another one also to look out for is your menstrual changes. Some individuals may have PCOS, which is a polycystic ovary syndrome, which can be linked to thyroidism. And so muscle weakness is another one as well. And so you find some parts of your body feeling weaker than others. That could be an indicator. Another one could be increased appetite and so forth. So hydrothyroidism and sleep apnea can also be connected. So some individuals, depending on their stage of life, whether you're going through the change of life or that you may have a change in your shift when you're working, maybe working nights versus days, or you have an irregular work schedule where you work nights and days and you alternate, or that you find that you may be up working on your business, or you're doing exams or studying. That can also affect your sleep. But keep in mind that this is something that no one, including myself, that I did not realize could be a disorder for sleep deprivation or insomnia. So if you find that you're having these types of challenge, I would say to you again, speak to your doctor, and they can actually refer you to a sleep clinic to have yourself tested to ensure that you're getting the right type of sleep, especially REM sleep, or that they check to make sure that you don't have, you stop breathing at night when you're in between your sleep, which could be an indicator of sleep apnea. Another one is called goiter. So swelling of the neck. I've seen this a lot in my community, especially when back home in the country of Antigua and Dominica, where I've seen the neck area sort of protruding. And I never thought too much about that until I started learning about thyroids. And so this actually could be a sensation where you feel like you're choking, or you have hoarseness, coughing, like a noisy breathing, even that you have certain conditions like memory loss, feeling cold, having problems concentrating. Again, I'm going to mention that anxiety part could be linked to having goiter, even depression. So these are other symptoms that you can actually think of, okay, do I have any of these? And you're going to write them down in the sort of process of elimination and say, okay, I think I may have, but not be paranoid about in the way of overthinking, but just making sure that you are aware. You sort of self-educate yourself, and then of course refer to your family doctor. If you don't have one, then I can say you can go to a walk-in clinic and ask to be referred based on your records, and they may be able to help you along that way, because usually there is a shortage sometimes of family doctors. So what causes goiter? It could be an iodine deficiency. It could be your thyroid nodules are not working correctly. It could be a thyroid infection or injury. It could be inflammation of the thyroid. It could also be exposure to radiation, and it could be inherited. Another one is Graves' disease and Hashimoto's disease are linked to thyroid disorders and cancer as well, which I'll explain to you what that is in the way of having or identifying that through different screening, that you will be able to confirm that it's either thyroid issue or something else. So I'm mentioning here the same thing, but one of the things I wanted to highlight is sometimes you're doing physical activities and you feel winded, like you're out of breath. And also you're feeling sweaty or you have a heat intolerance. That actually could be a symptom of overactive thyroids. Now, some of the other conditions I mentioned before, they're here again, but one is I wanted to highlight is hand tremors. Sometimes you're moving, you're working, or you're at a fast pace and you find your hands are shaking a little bit. It could be different symptoms. It could be something else, or it just mean that you're overly tired, but also could be an indicator of thyroid issue. So these small, simple, subtle signs or symptoms may come and you may not be able to connect the dot, but I would say to you again, keep track of those. Keep a short journal or notepad or even your phone. And when these conditions happen, just put them down. So when you actually go to your doctor to explain to them what you're feeling, you have a complete record for yourself that you can properly articulate to your doctor so that they're on the same page with your health. Another common part of the versus hypo versus hyperthyroid, they can actually present themselves together. So some of the symptoms could be hand in hand. So you yourself, as not a doctor in yourself, may not be able to put two and two together to know that is something that's not quite right. So another one too is your nail change, thickness or flaking of the nails. Also, you feel restlessness, like you're not quite settled in your body, in your mind. And these are also things as well that you will have to look at. Graves' disease is another one. And so it usually occurs in people between 30 and 50, but it also can affect children as well. And so if you were to do some checking in your family history, inquire if someone had thyroid before, to inquire, and just to eliminate the fact that it's not inherited, then especially if you're at a younger age, then you can eliminate that from your assessment of yourself before you speak to your doctor, or if it is, then you can also tell them, well, you know what, I have an aunt or a cousin or a friend who had these conditions, and so they could actually recommend additional testing to eliminate or to confirm if this is something that you may have. And so another one would be that's linked to Graves' disease is rheumatoid arthritis. Now, I actually spoke to someone yesterday, and she mentioned that her doctor told her she had oncoming of rheumatoid arthritis. Now, whether there's that linked to Graves' disease, is I'm not a doctor, so I cannot make that, determination on my own. But these are some of the things that, to do my research, I've identified, oh my gosh, they are connected, right? Everything is connected, just like our organs, our cells, our blood, everything is connected. So rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, type 1 diabetes, celiac disease, and vitiligo. Now, vitiligo, from my understanding, even though it's a skin condition, it goes way beyond that. It's an immune deficiency, also can link to Graves' disease, depending on what the findings are when they do their tests, because it's an autoimmune disease. These diseases are. So there are ways you can actually improve your immune system to sort of bring your body back to a wellness state to sort of combat some of these conditions that your body is trying to correct itself. Because what we put in is telling of what comes out. What we consume is what our body feeds off in the nutrition, and if we don't give it the right things, it's not going to perform the way it's meant to. Now, given the fact there's environment issues and toxins and foods and water and different things, and not to get too overly pessimistic in that, but also just to identify, in our world, there are things that can harm us that's supposed to be good for us. And so one of the symptoms of Graves' disease, right? To the left, that's also linked to thyroidism, but the frequent or of a bowel movement can be an indicator. But what I want you to also consider is sometimes we are going about our daily lives and we don't connect the dots, so to speak, right? So this is one of the ways you can actually check to see, if there's something that's not quite, your body's not quite operating the way it's meant to operate. Another one of the symptoms, or some of the symptoms you can have with, Graves' disease, is the bulging of the eyes. And I've seen this growing up in some young ladies with the eyes sort of not on the inside of their sockets, but sort of protruding, and thinking that's as part of their genetics makeup, not realizing that it's going to be a symptom of thyroid issue, because you can have the eyes pushing out and the way bulging out, and then the throat as well has a little curve or big curve in severe cases where it's showing that there could be a thyroid issue. Men also have these, and some people, when they say man boobs, so to speak, it could be a hormonal change, excessive body fat. It could be liver or kidney disease as well, and certain type of medication. So keep in mind that breast formation on men, from man boobs, so to speak, doesn't have to be thyroid, but that's actually one of the signs that they could be a thyroid issue. Another one is skin rashes, on the thigh. Another one is itchy or irritated eyes, and then weak shoulder or hip pain. So sometimes we take pain for granted because we have a little pain in the back or the hip, or you have it, in places where, well, this kind of maybe I exerted myself a bit too much the day before, and we sort of discount it. So pay attention to that. Another one also would be high blood pressure, feeling nauseous and vomiting. That could be an indicator of your thyroids being out of sort. Feeling faintish. I've never felt a day in my life, but I don't know that experience, so to speak. But if you know someone who ever experienced that, then you know exactly how that feels, and it's something where your body cannot control. So Graves' disease also has been known through research, and I actually found this on a website, but it is also available through, the PubMed studies that I found through the Public Medical Library. It also could be connected to a leaky gut. There's something called leaky gut syndrome, where the lining of your stomach has been compromised through medication, through too much acid in your body, and so your body's out of whack. So protein is going into in areas where it's not supposed to go to. And sometimes you may have tears in your bowel or tears in your stomach, that what's not supposed to go there can cause, imbalance in your body, and it could be related to that. So a lot of people don't test or have tests done to confirm or to be able to discount, well, it's not leaky gut syndrome, but it actually is an actual condition. So light sensitivity is one of them. Blurred vision or double vision is also one. Pressure or pain in your eyes. But I want to mention for this part, my mom, she's since passed the last 2 years, but she was diabetic. One of the main thing, she's type 2, the main thing that they wanted to check every year was the pressure in her eye. Because once you're diabetic, if you have your pressure is too high, you can actually go blind. So there are different things that may cause pressure in your eye, but this is also one of a sign of Graves' disease or leaky gut, so to speak. Another thing as well is swelling of the tissues around your eyes, the puffiness. Now that comes with age. I get puffy eyes, but I don't have it because I was tested for thyroids and I was fine. But sometimes you might have extra puffiness under your eye. That could be an indicator that something's not quite right with your body. Another one is also called thyroid cancer. I mentioned that before. So some of the symptoms are similar to just you having a non-cancerous thyroid, where you have some of the symptoms are similar to what we mentioned in the previous slides. So it could be a family history of thyroid cancer. It could be head or neck radiation exposure. For me, when I did my test for my thyroid, they actually did an X-ray. So they had to put the lead protecting gear on me, and then they took the scan of my neck, and I was fine. Thankfully for that. So one of the things also is noticeable voice changes where your voice kind of cracks a little bit. And I'll share with you why that is important to pay attention to. I know when boys are growing up, their voice gets squeaky, especially with the voice change as they get older into puberty. But there's nothing to be scared about that. But also just watch out to see how long that voice change is happening. Another one as well is that I mentioned it before about the iodine. If it's too high or too low, it's an imbalance. And so the range between where you can actually have a concern for cancerous thyroids is between 20 or older. And keep in mind, that number is just a study that was done over time. But, thyroid cancer is actually popping up in kids younger than 20. Other things that may impact your hypothyroidism, sorry, I'm going to go back to that, is inflammation. Now, this also could be due to pregnancy, which is very common after you've given birth. And sometimes it's not checked until it goes on for a long period of time not being checked. Graves' disease is also common in hyperthyroidism, but you're, again, paying attention to your body or some of the things that's not quite right. These are the things you need to look out for. So if you know someone who is pregnant or had a baby, and then afterwards you might find some changes in them, or they may have noticed that, have their thyroids checked. Also, the thyroid issue can be linked to infertility as well. And that has been documented as a finding as well. So having your self checked is one of the main things. Don't be afraid to consult with your doctor, even if they're saying they don't think you have, it's nothing in your history and you feel something's off. I would say to you, encourage them for them to refer you to a specialist to sort of eliminate that from your worries. So medication can help. Radioactive iodine therapy can help. Surgery, your lifestyle changes, how you eat. There's certain things that actually won't agree with you when you actually have thyroids. Symptoms that are overactive or underactive, and of course, to find the right tribe or community to help you as you go through your journey. So some of the treatments that can happen after your traditional treatments could be natural ways of doing that. So another thing that they actually look at is something called a beta block. That can be prescribed to someone who has a rapid heart rate, tremors, and sweating, and anxiety until that thyroid issue is controlled. But again, there are side effects to any medication you take. So do your due diligence and see what the side effects are, if they're actually worth it to take it, if it's going to trigger other illnesses. And then also the surgery, as I mentioned before. And then I mentioned here some of the medication that, findings that could actually block the thyroids, but keep in mind as well, you have thyroids where it's actually trying to control that small percentage, but it's going to impact the rest of your body. So again, do your due diligence. Another one to reduce is to reduce your stress. The stress can actually trigger, especially if you have a thyroid issue. If your body is overly stressed, then you find more of these conditions and symptoms that I mentioned before. You can actually do things like meditation, deep breathing, exercise, and yoga. Even your chronic stress can affect your thyroid function. Now, we all have some little ways that we can combat it, but if you realize that you're overly stressed, especially if your sleep is disrupted or your appetite or your stress level or anxiety has increased, there are ways you can have some coping mechanisms, some skills to help you to combat that, to reduce your thyroid symptoms if you have thyroid. Another thing as well is your fish intake, whether it's through the actual fish itself, making sure it's the right type of product for you, because some have excess salt, some have, extra preservatives, some are, farm grown versus wild. And so those are things you have to look at, as well as your omega-3 fatty acids. Flaxseed is really good. But keep in mind as well, if you've had a cancer scare or you've gone through cancer, flaxseed is not does not help you. It actually works against you if you've had cancer. So flaxseed is one of the things we've been told, especially with a family member who had gone through cancer, and during her just doing some homework as what she should consume, flaxseed was one of the things she was told not to have. Chia seed is very good. It has a lot of proteins. You can have it by itself. You can have it in your smoothies. You can have it on your cereal. So actually, you can pick and choose what your palate likes, and then create a dietary regime for yourself to help you in your thyroid issue. I mentioned about, sleep disturbance. Some of the things you can think of is when you get up in the morning, do you feel extra tired, even though you've had 7 or 8 hours of sleep? And in the afternoon, you feel like you're totally drained. Again, that could be related to stress, or sometimes you're driving to and from work for 2-3 hours, and so your body's not sort of like in a calm state. But if you pay attention to the pattern of how you sleep, you can actually be able to write these things in your journal. Another one as well is like your night pattern, how you sleep. If you're tossing and turning, or you find that you're waking up and going back to sleep, your cycles are not, helping you, but they're sort of like working against you. So if you get enough sleep, great. If you can't, there are actual natural things you can consume to help you with your sleep deprivation. And again, it's not only tied to thyroid, it can be many things like menopause, and sometimes you have issues where you're working different shifts. So these are things you should consider. And the foods I would suggest that you avoid, especially if you're going to eat goitrogenic foods, make sure that you have them cooked versus eating raw, because it works against you. So heat sort of decreases the type of things that works against you in the way of the breakdown of the food when it's cooked versus raw. You can take a screen capture of this if you'd like. Some of the foods would be like, to sort of avoid, would be like soya, tofu, miso, things like broccoli and cauliflower. They work against you. Excess fiber from beans and legumes and vegetables can also trigger it. If you're eating your food, the fatty foods such as butter, meat, and all, reduce how much you eat, because it's hard to eliminate everything, especially when your body's craving it, but at least reduce how much you're eating until you've sort of corrected how you eat in a healthier way. Things like sugary food works against you if you have thyroid. Things like processed food, that actually is a negative. And also alcohol. So alcohol works against you. It doesn't work for you. We all know you enjoy the occasional glass of wine or beer, but excess of that can actually work against you, especially if you're taking medication. Another thing as well is your coffee consumption or your tea consumption with the high levels of caffeine in some products, is that if you're taking thyroid medication first thing in the morning, wait at least 30 minutes to an hour to have that cup of coffee, Coffee is a thing that's habitual, and tea, so it's something that we can't really break out of our cycle, even if we have to when we have a health scare. But that's also a great way of sort of making sure that your medication, if you're on medication, to make sure that it's being effective and not reducing the efficiency of that medication. Another thing as well to help you is exercise, and to be able to do regular exercise to help you to balance that. So you can take a screen capture of this. I won't go through everything. So basically, psyllium, iron, magnesium, and iodine. These are some of the things you can have as a go-to to help you to support, to give yourself the right nutrients. And keep in mind as well, not all brands and foods are equal. Some have nutrient deficiency as to how they're grown. And some, especially like fish, either farmed or wild. Wild is 100 times better, but of course, you need to know where the source is coming from when you're having things like fish and meats, chicken, things like that. Another thing is what probiotics. It's very important. Now, not everyone likes things like these. I'm not a kimchi kind of person, but I'm a yogurt person, right? I love kefir. So whatever you're creating your diet for, you actually can sort of create that to things you like, that you know that you'll be able to consume for a long period of time and not just a one time. So these are some of the things I would suggest as probiotics, or getting the actual probiotics that will help you to sort of supplement your diet if you find you're not getting the right nutrients from it. Also, vitamin D is very important. Now, I just want to mention to you, vitamin D is like one of the most understated vitamin, because your body produces it, especially for those who have, this type of skin, melanin in their skin. They do not get as much vitamin D as the other ethnicities, because what blocks the sun can also harm us because we're not getting enough exposure to the sun. But if you have thyroid issues or conditions or a symptom, you have to be careful as to how much vitamin D you take, because you can actually provide a toxin situation when you're giving it too much vitamin D. If you don't have any thyroid issues, you can take more. I take personally about 5,000 units. I use of that because this is what I actually was vitamin D deficient, and your regular blood work doesn't tell you that. You actually have to request it, especially here in Canada, and you pay an additional fee to confirm that you are either are or not. But most people, especially if you reach a certain age, your vitamin D goes down, depletes, and you don't realize that you're deficient because it's not a test that is part of your regular blood work. So what actually can you have to support your overall well-being, your journey, your health journey, as if you're going through these conditions, or you think that you might know someone who has thyroid issues? There's an actual herb called Ganoderma lucidum, which I was introduced to with my husband about 12 years ago. And so we consume this every day in a different way, but we're getting our daily nutrients. So it actually helps support our immune system. And for those who share it with us, share it as well, they're giving us great feedback, because it's something that's not indigenous to North America. It is indigenous to Asia. Coconut oil, we all know, those of you who have grown up in the Caribbean, we know there's a lot of benefits, but really and truly, everything's being discovered more and more benefits. But coconut oil is actually good for you if you have thyroid issue, but again, it's a balance. You can't have too much coconut oil. You can't have too little for it to be effective. But also, if you have high cholesterol and things like that, just be able to manage how much coconut oil you consume. So here we go with why I'm sharing one of the natural ways of consuming nutrients that will help support your thyroid journey. We support our system, our body, by giving it the right things. The body doesn't lie. It tells you exactly how it's feeling. It may have little signs here and there, but this company of Organo is a Canadian company, and they provide the Ganoderma in different forms. Now, I'm not sure if you're like me. I start well with vitamins and then I stop. I start well, stop. If you're like me, we can identify. But those who are the 3% of the world population that actually are very committed to taking every day the vitamins, then kudos to them. But for those of us who gravitate to hot beverages, like we grew up having tea and hot cocoa and coffee, that's your habitual way of doing things. So for us, in having one sachet of a cup of goodness, we were able to have a lasting impact and to also share it with people. So the power of Ganoderma, I'm going to share with you briefly. It's this beautiful mushroom. This mushroom which we discovered by consuming a cup, in my case, a cup of mocha. I was never a coffee person, a cup of mocha. It actually helped me unknowingly because I really didn't know about this particular mushroom until I started consuming it myself and sharing it with others. So this is, to the left, is how it's naturally grown. This is a patent we have as a company called Organo. We've been in existence for 15 years. We are business partners, my husband and I, for the last 12 years. But the fact that we can actually share this with people, this is a treasure of the earth. We have considered this, that we can actually share it with the people of the world like you and myself, of course, included. So you can actually search on Amazon in different places. Some are grown artificially, but it's still considered organic because it's free of pesticide. But if you look at the left, it's reddish brown. To the right, it's yellow sickly. Most of the organic farms or companies grow it this way, artificial, but it's still classified as organic. So do your homework to make sure where it's grown. We actually have an IBM tracker that you can track the products to see where they're grown. And also we have the certifications and the patent to protect us as a brand. So these are also two other mushrooms, which I love because I've seen and witnessed it myself of the benefits. So Ganoderma, for one, in Canada with the Health Canada Institute, we have the natural product number to state that it supports the immune system. But the ability to provide additional nutrients to your body, like your amino acids, your vitamins, your minerals, is actually compact into that mushroom. Cordyceps is another one which I love. This cordyceps helps with many things, including things like anxiety. You have issues with sleeping. You have neuropathy, nerve damage, many other supporting factors for this one. It also helps anti-aging, but I'm sure you and I, we don't need that because we're all beautiful and we don't need anti-aging, but it doesn't hurt, right? Lion's mane is another one who helps with the brain function, brain fog, many other benefits to it, but also helps with your energy level. If you're going through a particular condition, you find your energy is depleted, but you find that you're having issues with sleep, things like that, this well-rounded, all these have many benefits, including helping with the quality of your sleep. This is also one of the things we're excited about of the products. Now, as I mentioned to you, we're all habitual. We can gravitate to things that we like unconsciously. So if your doctor told you to stop drinking coffee because it raises your pressure, or to stop drinking coffee because your sugar level will go up because we're adding extra things to it, then I would say to you, consider a brand that is healthier for you and you're just switching the brand, but still have the habit of consuming. Like me, I could have missed school, be late for school, but I make sure I have my tea back home, no matter how hot it is outside. So you can have your teas, your hot cocos, and you just switch your brand, but you're getting every cup of goodness of coffee, tea, hot cocoa. You're getting the right nutrients into your body that over time you start seeing the benefits and feeling the benefits of that. So this is another one I want to share with you. It's called Royale. It's a new addition to our brand. It has the 3 mushrooms in there, the cordyceps, ganoderma, and reishi. Sorry, cordyceps, lion's mane, and reishi. And so you can actually see the types of benefits, but it has many more. So cordyceps is one of them, as well as the lion's mane I mentioned before. So this one I want to highlight to you. I talked about the gut health. The lion's mane is really good for your gut health and sort of bringing it back to its wellness state. As you're consuming it, you'll be able to tell with your body what's happening, especially when you're having a BM or if you're asleep, all of that. Your body will not lie. It tells you exactly how it feels. And so here's another thing I want to share with you. There are different brands on the market, but with our brand, it actually stays in your body 99.9% absorption versus the artificially grown, which gives you 4% to 30% absorption into your body. So if you're taking something that doesn't have the right nutrients, or it doesn't give you the right amount of, the quality is not right, your body is not absorbing what it's supposed to absorb. When you give it the right thing, it responds well. So I'm actually going to pause here for a sec. I'm going to introduce my husband, Cornell, because he had a thyroid condition many years ago. And I'd like for him to share his story. So Cornell, are you there?
Yes, I am.
So Cornell-McLean, of course, I mentioned is my husband. And if you could share your story as to what you went through and what happened with you after you were diagnosed with it.
Okay, well, thank you for allowing me to partake on this platform. Um, my story began, I noticed, well, I wouldn't say I noticed. Kerry-Ann noticed that when I was talking to people or sometime having conversation, my voice would fluctuate. So my voice will, you know, either have a certain vibration to it, and then it would lower down, and then it will crack. And she said, something is wrong with your voice. And I said, oh, no, no, it's just, like most of us, we kind of play it off. I said, no, no, it's nothing. It's just, dry throat. Or, I make an excuse. So she kind of said to me, go and have it checked out. And I was reluctant. I kept saying, there's nothing wrong with me. Finally, I went to my doctor and, for my annual. So every October around my birthday, I would go and I'll get my physical. And I went and I said to the doctor, I've noticed that my voice is cracking. And he said, okay. He, felt around my neck and he said he felt a little, hardening around my throats, around my thyroid. So he said he's going to send me for a specialist to get, send me for x-ray. So he did that. The results came back and he said that it showed a lump. So said he was going to send me to get a biopsy. So I went to get a biopsy. It came back inconclusive because of the size. They said of the size of the lump, it's inconclusive. So they sent me to another specialist who decided that the only remedy would to take out both my right and left thyroid glands. I said, well, if it's only on the right side, why would you need to take out the left? Um, he said, well, because it's on the right, the possibility that the left would get infected would be quite high and it could be cancerous. But I said, well, the result says inconclusive. Well, I didn't like that saying, so I went back to my doctor, my family doctor. I said, I would like a second opinion. So he sent me to another doctor, which wasn't a butcher, like the first one. And he, he said, why would someone want to take out a good working thyroid gland because the other side had some growth on it? So I decided to get that done, just the one side. They sent it to a lab out in London, Ontario. It came back inconclusive for cancer. So they sent it down to Boston, Massachusetts. They in turn said inconclusive as well, but as to not knowing what it was, but it wasn't cancer. So that was a plus. Consequently, it wasn't something that I anticipated. No one expect to go through such ordeal. But what happened now, through the consumption of the coffee and the teas, when I went back to my doctor, to the specialist that did the operation, and he looked for scarring, couldn't find the scar. Said that my thyroid was producing the right amount. Granted that your thyroids only produce about 20% of the hormones that your body uses. The other 80% is produced elsewhere in your body. So as he said, my thyroid was working properly. The one side that I had was working properly, and the other 80% that your body produces, the enzymes and that your body produces, that your thyroid always get blamed for. Right? He said you don't need to be on any medication. All you just need to do is basically continue being, doing what you're doing, staying healthy, eating the right food, getting the right nutrition. So I was thankful as well because the consumption of Ganoderma actually helped push my body to a wellness stage that my body was able to repair itself. So I hope that helps with some of, you know, it was my ordeal, and I know everyone has different stages that they go through, different health challenges, and it's devastating when you get something thinking that you're healthy all this time. Okay, send it back to you, Kerry-Ann. Then thank you a lot for allowing me to speak on your platform again.
You're
Kerry-Ann, you're
muted,
muted.
Kerry-Ann.
You're muted.
Oh, I missed, you guys missed my part about saying that he was stubborn. Sorry. So I am stubborn, he's
It's
stubborn.
okay. You
It
can go
works well.
bypass that. We don't need to hear that part.
Yes, we do. So the stubborn part was after surgery, he thought he was fine, and they wanted to keep him for 24 hours to make sure that his body he doesn't get the shakes. Because after you've had thyroid surgery, if your body's not releasing the right amount, you can go into shock. So they kept him for 24 hours, and he did not go into shock. And they test him, and they goes, your thyroids are working fine. So they released him. At the hospital,
Correction,
yes,
correction. My
yes.
one thyroid was working great.
I'm sorry, he went thyroid. So they were looking out for that because they were concerned. So after the surgery, till now, it's been many years, and he has not had to take any thyroid medication, thankfully. So everything's working well. We always have to just check it ever so often. But for me, it does my heart good that we were giving him the right nutrients, and he does not take vitamins. I'm just as bad. But the one thing I know for sure is that we never missed a cup of coffee and tea. And I'm sort of new to the coffee world. So I like that, Deborah. Not stubborn, strong-willed. I call mine determination. So that's just some of the things I want to share with you. And so for me, that journey was scary because especially when he's never had any surgery, including myself. That one time his mom was concerned, I was concerned. So we prayed. And then of course he went into surgery and came back and everything was fine. And today, as he said, he came back, and actually when they came back, they couldn't find the scar. So that's one of the things I've noticed as a pattern with when you're taking the products, you heal faster, which is a good thing. So as we wrap up, I just want to quickly show you something. I'll go back to my screen. I want to share with you some PubMed studies, and then we wrap up. Share my screen. There we go. So this is actually the page, PubMed, where it talks about cordyceps. And this is a public medical library. Not my findings, other findings. So in here, it is cordyceps. It tells you about the Ganoderma. And also at the bottom of the description, it says, of course, it talks about autoimmune right here, autoimmune thyroidist cordyceps. But this is just a finding. So at your own leisure, you can read yourself, or we can send the information to you. And I also checked out for thyroid and Ganoderma. And I found another findings here. And how actually the Ganoderma lucidum is effective when you're looking through immune deficiency syndrome, which is part of the thyroid challenge that most people have. So I'm just going to stop this section here, and I'm going to share with you just a final wrap up, and then you open up for Q&A, of course. Awesome. So for me, the reason why I'm sharing this for you is because we have been able to receive numerous benefits from this simple cup of, I don't know what happened here. I apologize. The simple cup of coffee that created benefits. Now, if you're not a coffee consumer or a tea person, it comes in capsule form. So for the month of from January to now, there are promotions on different packages. There's also where you can get an additional 25% off on a product if you're not prepared to have different type of flavors to try at once. But at least give yourself 60 to 90 days to have the switch of your brand and pay attention to your body and see actually or feel how it helps you in your wellness journey. So there's promotions running now for different types of packages. If you have turned you more on the sweet side, you have the latte. If you want a purist, like a pure black, there's the black, the king, and the royale. And it also comes in toothpaste forms and so forth. So you could actually try that if you want to start off that way slow, or if you just want to go into the capsules. If you want more of a therapeutic dose, I actually take the spores plus my beverages, because I actually have realized the benefits for my body. So what it does for you, I don't know, because we all experience things differently. But I said you give it a try, see what happens to your body, and then you'll be able to have your own testimony. And of course, we'd love to hear back from you, because our job is to make sure we add value to you and to be able to provide you with things that can benefit your well-being for you and your family. So this is, as we wrap up here, I just want to share with you, we actually were hosted in, there's 2 articles about us, one in Women's Journal, one on CEO Weekly, that talks about our journey from corporate to empowering health, and another one about your 21-day mindset for a healthier you. So those who've invited you, they can share the link, you can read up on that. And of course, we'd love to hear back from you as well. So as I wrap up here, I want to thank you for your time. If you have questions, please feel free to take yourself off mute. And as I go through the chat, I'll see if there's any questions there that I can answer as well. Deborah, you have a question.
What was the one that gave us help with sleeping? What was the product?
Oh, there's 2, and the lion's mane, and so the cordyceps is infused into the red tea and the royale. So for the sleep issue, the cordyceps helps with your sleep, but the ganoderma as well. But if you're having challenges like anxiety, or you have things like your respiratory issue, with for those who are asthmatic and things like that, that helps you too. So we call it calms you down, so you can actually sleep better. So
Yeah.
the tea is really good. You can have it hot or cold. In my case, in the winter months, I sort of make it hot. I steep it. You can add anything to it. You can be creative. But if you want it cold, you steep it, you put it in the fridge, you drink it like you're drinking water, you get the same effect. For my mom, may her soul rest in peace, when she had the first stroke, she developed neuropathy, and then of course she couldn't sleep. So she consumed the red tea every day for a good 6 months, and she put a cinnamon stick in there, of course, because we love cinnamon. And she found that the neuropathy went away over time, and she was using another device as well to help her. And so that went away. So and then she was able to sleep, because once you go to sleep, your body relaxes, you get all the flare-ups in your hands and feet, right? If in her case. But for sleeping, for coffee now, if you're a coffee person, the Royale has all 3.
Okay.
Right. So and then of course you can take the capsules.
Right.
Right. So and you can be super creative with, especially the spores. You can cook with it, you can consume it by yourself, you can put it in your coffee.
Yes, I am very creative.
You're welcome. Any other questions? I'm just going to read the chat as you ask.
Kerry-Ann, I didn't get you right. Did you say if you, like with your husband with the thyroid, you do not supposed to take vitamins or
No. Okay, so some people gravitate to religiously taking vitamins,
okay.
and I myself, I'm not that diligent, and my husband is not either. But what he
Okay.
never miss is a cup of coffee.
Okay, because I had the same surgery as you over 20 years, like my right side of my thyroid.
Okay.
And they didn't put me on any medication either. So it healed up all by itself.
Okay,
The problem I'm having, this weight, I have the overactive where it gained weight. Yes, so
that happens, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's the biggest problem with me, because I try to starve myself, not eating much, and it's like the doctor said, don't do that because it's not good. It's not like, because whether I eat or not, it's still gain the weight. But I feel all right otherwise. It's just because of the arthritis, the pain and stuff in my knees. But otherwise, from that with the thyroid, the last time I went was like, I think coming up soon, I have to go back for my checkup, because I usually go every year to my specialist. But the last time I went, she said, I don't need to come back until 5 years because everything is good. So I need to go back about probably the end of this year for another checkup. But otherwise, from that, the thyroid is working properly, she said.
Okay, congratulations on that. One of the things that, as I shared before, is that there's a combination, of things you can do that I shared with you. And so one of the things that we listed was, the rheumatoid arthritis. Some people don't. So your body, even though it's performing well and the thyroid is not causing you to take medication, you still have the overactive symptom, which is the gain. So choosing certain food, eliminating certain foods from your, like keep a journal of your foods
Yeah.
you're eating that can cause that. Like I mentioned before, like leafy vegetables is not good. Tofu, and you have things like, certain types of legumes that are not good for
Did
you,
you say broccoli too, not good?
right? I mentioned
Oh,
broccoli,
because I like broccoli
kale.
and
Yeah, broccoli,
kale. I
kale
usually eat kale, but somebody told me that kale is not good.
is not good for those who have thyroids.
Okay, okay.
Right. So there's a list of foods. I can share that with you. It's in the presentation. So I'm actually going to save this in our private group. So I
Mm-hmm.
can forward the whole video so you can take your time and go through and write down the list of foods that would they suggest not to eat or not
Yeah,
eat so often.
yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
that way you can start seeing some things. And of course, you're having chronic pains, so it may be challenging to do any exercise. So
Mm-hmm.
like things like chair yoga is really good.
Yeah.
That's stress on your body. Even if you
Okay.
go to, I have a friend who has issue with scoliosis, and she can't do anything that on land. She's like a fish in
Mm-hmm.
water, so she goes to do aquatic aerobics, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
that one you can sign up, very cheap, at
Yeah.
the community centers, and you can just have a little movement so that you're not in so much pain.
Yeah, I know when I usually go into the pool, it used to really help me. But
Yes.
now I don't have a pool, so I guess I have
Yeah.
to join up in summer for some
Yeah,
way.
and they're actually good because I think it works out here in Durham. It's like I think for like a $5 a session, you pay like X amount. It works out $5.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's actually pretty good. And so that
Yeah.
way, especially in the winter months when it's really cold, it packs you with your joint pain. Then you
Mm-hmm.
endure.
Mm-hmm.
So there's many
Yeah.
things you can do. And then of course I would say, okay, there's the capsules we have. Consume that. Try it for 90 days and see what it does for your body. And then pay attention to what you're eating, how you're moving, how you're sleeping.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome,
I'm
Polly.
so confident. It's hydrotherapy.
That's good too. Yeah. Any other questions? Awesome. So just to let you know, every Tuesday we
Hi.
oh, hi.
Yeah, I'm Eulalie. I'm so sorry. Good night. I'm
How
in
are
the
you?
store, so I'm trying to get out.
That's okay,
Yeah,
Lily.
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, so I'm just listening to you. I know I'm one too. I'm actually I had the cancer, and so I have both side of my both thyroid. So I have no thyroid. So I'm on the thyroxine.
Mm,
I'm okay. I feel okay now. I think so. 8 years now since I had the surgery.
congratulations. Congratulations.
And just hoping that, like, sometimes the thing I feel is just like like my bones, like my back now. I feel that. I don't know if it's it. I'm just waiting
Yeah.
to go get. So very
So
interested topic. I really enjoy listening to it because I guess we need to be educated. I just take it lightly, but it's a lot I learned today to know that. So I will read up more and see and keep
yeah,
with you.
awesome. And then if the person who invited you, in a sense, they can get you some more information on thyroidism.
I invited her, but I don't have no information. And Deborah's the one that invited me.
Okay,
My
okay.
old
So
neighbor.
okay. So so this is Janet.
Yes.
Okay, welcome. So
Thank
Janet
you.
and you the lead. Deborah will send you some information. If you gravitate more towards let's say coffee, teas, or whatever, I'd say connect with her. At least try it for 30 days, see what it does for your body. Pay attention to your body because it doesn't lie, right? And then you can always add more nutrition to your body in some way or form. So you are your best doctor in a sense because you pay attention to your body. You tell the doctor how you feel, and then they can assess through their books as to what they think, educated guess as to what it is. So everything has a purpose, including doctors and surgery and the right therapy. So Yulia, I'm thankful that you're here with us and to be able to share your story, that you have gone through thyroid cancer and you're still standing strong.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Very strong. Yes.
Kudos to you. So reach out to Deborah, both of you, or she will connect with you. And then, of course, she will be able to speak to you offline as to how you can get the products. At least try it for yourself to see. And then,
Yeah.
actually next week we'll be speaking on prostate cancer.
Okay.
So
Okay,
if you know
awesome.
of anyone who has gone through that, my dad went through that, and I'll share that story next week. But we have other topics we're speaking on. Following week is going to be about inflammation and so forth. And then we have other calls we've recorded, and we have a private Facebook group where we shared all the previous recordings. So you can go through things like diabetes, lupus, fibromyalgia, all those things that we spoke about. In actually, we're going to speak on one on menopause, but I'll give the date on that as well.
Okay.
All right, so thank you so much for your time. It was an honor sharing everything with you and you being here and asking the questions. Have a great evening. And of course, you could have been anywhere else, but you chose to be here. That shows
Thank
that's
you.
you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Deborah.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye.
you. Have a great night.
Okay.
Bye.
Great. Bye.
All
Thank
right.
you. Have a good night, everyone.
Good
Thank you,
night.
Annette.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.